then I would propose there are actually 3 foundations for you and I to determine why we believe what I believe. Why is it that you believe what you believe? There's really 3 ways that you could look, 3 foundations. So the first foundation is going to be myself. And you're going to say, listen, I'm the captain of my own soul, and what I think, what I desire, I decide what's right and wrong. You determine what's right and wrong. Now, interesting, if you think that you decide what's right or wrong, that you determine what you can and cannot do, I would bet what you actually believe about right and wrong changes fairly rapidly. And probably if you say 10, 20 years ago, you probably believed something much different than you believe today. So we tend not to be a great foundation to decide why we believe what we believe. In fact, Jeremiah 17:9 says the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can understand it? That the reality is that I can be deceived. I can be wrong. I can be way off when it comes to right and wrong. Colossians 3:5 challenges us to put to death what is earthly in us: sexual immorality, impurity, passions, evil desire, and covetousness. The scripture says that inside me, in my heart, is not a trustworthy source. It's not a good foundation to determine what is right or wrong. The second foundation that you could use to determine right and wrong would be my culture. You could say, hey, listen, my culture is what determines what's right or wrong. Now, the interesting thing about this, in 2019 in America, you can see that the culture is extremely divided on a number of things. There's absolutely no cultural consensus, especially when it comes to the issue of sexuality. But the culture would say, follow your heart. Be true to yourself. Live out your desires. You are what you desire. Identify with what you desire. And the primary mantra from the culture is that you and I are to be true to ourselves. Yet, you know what? Our culture doesn't actually even believe that. Our culture doesn't actually believe that you and I should live out our passions, should follow our heart, and should be true to ourselves. How do I know this? Because we have loads of laws on the books to prevent us from doing so. Thankfully, something like rape is illegal. And you can't say the defense of, oh, I was being true to myself. I was simply doing me. You do you, right? You cannot use that as a defense. We have all sorts of laws on the books to prevent us from following our heart, from living out our passions, from doing whatever our body says to do. So, and the other thing too about culture is it changes quickly. Culture in America has changed very quickly, even over the last 10 years. We've seen drastic shifts on what the culture says is acceptable in the area of sexuality. So this is not a very good foundation. The final foundation you could use is you could say God is my foundation. That He is the foundation, He is the source, and ultimately I must look to God for what is right or wrong. And so as a Christian, we would say that comes from His Word. And the interesting thing about God and His Word, as culture has changed, as my beliefs has changed, He has never changed. Isaiah 55, God says this, He says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For us, the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. If you look to God as a source and foundation, His ways are higher than ours. We must believe that He has a better perspective. He has a different view. His thoughts are high and above us.